Artificial intelligence is being designed to watch you. Of the untold billions being invested in AI, a lot is being used to develop surveillance technology.
Surveillance is the business model of the entire AI field.
This intimate relationship, though, has been hidden.
The term surveillance itself became kind of a dirty word over time, so the field had to adjust to still do surveillance, but using language that obfuscates the fact that surveillance is happening.
Now, a new study shows that a vast majority of papers and patents in a subfield of AI could be used in the surveillance industry.
Before surveillance, there was some kind of comfort in being in a crowd. You can't just be picked out and identified. But now, surveillance technologies are everywhere, means you are not safe. We are not safe anymore.
AI is receiving an unprecedented amount of investment, with billions of dollars being directed specifically towards the field of computer vision.
So computer vision is a subfield of machine learning or artificial intelligence, which is focused particularly on gleaning information from static and moving images. It's essentially trying to make computers see the world visually in the way that we see the world, or at least approximating it.
Computer vision technologies have many useful applications, in steering autonomous vehicles, for example, or assessing the performance of sports stars on the pitch, or just automatically tagging photos on social media. But why are investors putting so much money into computer vision technology? Well, it could be because what the computers are being trained to see is people.
Well, if you can train a computer to automatically recognize and tag your friends on Facebook, then it's not a lot of steps from being able to recognize people in all other contexts, whether it's the context of you on the street, the context of enemy combatants in a battlefield, the context of potential shoppers in a retail area, in a mall, for example.
Abeba Bahani and her team had heard the claims that computer vision research was closely tied to surveillance technology.
What we wanted to do with the study is to support these various claims with large-scale empirical evidence.
So the team manually searched through 100 computer vision papers to identify keywords relating to surveillance. They then searched for these keywords in over 19,000 papers and 23,000 patents on computer vision.
We find that 90% of papers and 86% of downstream patents extracted data relating to humans. In the majority, this is 71% of papers and 65% of patents, explicitly extracted data about human bodies and human body parts.
In other words, most of the work could potentially be used to monitor people. Now, computer vision can be used for things like detection of medical issues or biometric security checks for your bank. But the language used in computer vision studies often hides what the research is about.
Sometimes you would read an entire paper or patent and have no clue, or there is no information showing that what type of data is shared or collected. Then you look at the figures and you see that it's humans.
Instead of referring to humans, papers would instead call them objects, and the places where they live, scenes. This is something that Jathan, who wasn't directly involved in this new study, found particularly worrying.
It abstracts away any of these potential issues related to critical reflection and inquiry. What's the actual purpose and use of the models that I'm creating? Do I agree with that purpose and with the interest of the people who are using them? It abstracts away questions of ethical responsibility or political controversy. What could be controversial about training a machine vision model to recognize objects?
Jathan also believes that what Abebe has uncovered is not merely a trend in research. Instead, this focus on surveillance is a product of the power structures we all live in.
This is not just a mere coincidence. The influence here is that it's the companies and government agencies that are interested in having high-tech capabilities for visual surveillance those are the people that are influencing the trends of research and development in this field.
In fact, hundreds of millions of dollars of investment in computer vision has come from the US military. Governments are also big investors. This technology could be used to catch criminals, stop theft, and secure borders. But Jathan worries that this pipeline of computer vision research to surveillance could harm democratic freedoms.
There's a direct pipeline from the kind of research being published in these conferences to the patents that are being filed to the companies that then pick up those patents and create technologies and applications out of them, to the government agencies that are using these technologies at borders to determine who are legal and illegal immigrants, for example, to find people in the street, identifying protesters of these governments.
This new research shines a spotlight on the AI to surveillance pipeline, which could help empower activists, researchers, and governments who want to protect their people from surveillance.
What makes surveillance insidious is it's used to control, manipulate, and kind of monitor people. And those that tend to do the controlling and the manipulation and the surveillance of people tend to be nations or companies or institutions that are extremely privileged, extremely powerful, where most of the general public tends to have very little autonomy, very little say, and no input in what kind of surveillance technologies are built, what they are used for. Maybe if there is some kind of way to balance, to give people more autonomy, more option, then we are looking at a more playing level, a more playing field, where we can sit down and look at what are the trade-offs, the positives and negatives.